It says find the complex zeros. Now, what I always do, first and above all, is I look to see if it factors. If we're doing a regression, it's not going to factor. So, as a result, most regressions that we will do where we have to find solutions, basically we are going to have to do it numerically. It doesn't happen that we're going to be able to do it algebraically, like the nice problems that we see. But this says find the complex zeros. When it says complex zeros, this also means real plus the imaginary. So it's going to be real plus the imaginary. And that's where, if I'm finding the zeros, I take x to the fourth minus 1, set it equal to 0. And then the first thing I say to myself is, self, does it factor? Rather than go down through the whole process, I'm going to look to see, does it factor? Well, it does. This is the difference of two squares. So this ends up being x squared plus 1 times x squared minus 1. That's equal to 0. This says that x squared plus 1 equals 0. X squared minus 1 equals 0. We can factor this one if we choose to. This would be x minus 1, x plus 1. It's also the difference of two squares. So I get that x is 1, x is minus 1. This one does not factor, so I'm going to use the square root property on him. I could have used the square root property on this as well because it's two terms with no x's, with no x term. This would say that x squared equals minus 1. Take the square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus or minus. So that x equals plus or minus the square root of negative 1, which is I. This is the degree 4. I would expect to have 4 zeros, not necessarily unique, and I do have 4. I have x equal plus or minus 1, that's 2 of them, and I have x equal plus or minus I, that's 2 of them. Now when I think of zeros, zeros can be two things. And these two here, because they are real numbers, they are x-intercepts. And these two, they are imaginary. So they're not on the x-axis. Remember that the x-axis is a real number line, and since the x-axis is a real number line, imaginary numbers don't need to apply. Imaginary numbers set up completely differently. So the only thing that would be x-intercepts would be real numbers. That what the imaginaries do is to put little weird kinky things into it, where you see these little S shapes as the graph kind of goes along. Oh, by the way, something else I forgot. I think we set your due date for the worksheet for tomorrow, right? So that'll be moved to Wednesday. Since I won't be here tomorrow, and you might be here tomorrow, but I won't be, and you'll be by yourself if you are, or with anybody else who chooses to come and forget that we don't have class. Yes?
Do you still have copies of the worksheet?
I probably do. If not, they certainly they're online.
We're still recording.
Yeah.
We're still recording.
Yeah.